And welcome everybody to another episode of the GSMC Baseball Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and as always, it is great to have you guys here. Another show on a Thursday morning. And once again, it's great to have you guys. And again, as always, to get your comments recognized, go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork/tip. We greatly appreciate that. And as always, for bonus coverage materials that are not on this broadcast, go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network. And we greatly appreciate that as always. So we have a lot to talk about on today's show, as we normally do. To start off the show, we'll go through the latest news and headlines around the league. In the second segment, we are going to talk about the National League MVP race and talk about the candidates for that and the kind of seasons that they're having. And I'll give my thoughts on that and who I think is going to win. But I think most people know who that's going to be. But there's still some other players that are having great years that we're going to recognize them as well in that segment. Then in the third part of the show, we're going to talk about the American League playoff picture and talk about the scores from last night and go over that and where everything currently stands at the moment. And then we will get into the National League playoff picture and go through all the scores regarding that and where it is at this particular moment. So that's kind of the structure of the show going forward until the end of the regular season, is because it's always changing, like I've been talking about constantly. So I think that's how we're gonna do it, and it's different because when you watch the other shows, with college football and basketball being every other day, and football is 3 days a week, Monday, Thursday, Sunday. College football is multiple days as well, but the main day is Saturday. Baseball is every day, so there's always something changing within the standings and the playoff picture. So that's kind of how we're going to do it moving forward. And yeah, so that's basically the rundown for the show. So let's kind of get into the latest news and headlines. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is my own team. And, I haven't really talked about them that much. I reference them a lot, but I don't really, go on a tangent with them. Well, not a lot, but they do get mentioned here or there. I did talk about the youth movement a couple weeks ago when I first started, but yeah, so last night the Yankees lost again, their third game in a row to the Blue Jays. They lost the last game to the Pirates. They've lost the first two to the Blue Jays, and it was another lifeless performance out of the Yankees in what's been a very disappointing season. They dropped to 500, and Aaron Boone got ejected. That's one of the reasons. The headline is Aaron Boone getting ejected for the 7th time this season, which is tied for the most in the majors over balls and strikes. And, again, did a segment talking about should MLB implement robot umpires, and that's one of the reasons why is the strike zone is so inconsistent with umpires, and there needs to be some kind of change because it's ridiculous. But it's just I think a lot of that had to do with just how the season's been going, and Boone's not happy with it, and he's going to come back as manager. I don't expect there to be a change at the end of the year, but just how disappointing this team has been all season. And listen, when they brought up Dominguez and Austin Wells and Peraza and Pereira, they started playing better, and it looked like, every time they would get close to maybe making a run at possibly getting the third wild card, they would falter, and they would go backwards. And now, especially with Dominguez being out, which he was really a bright spot for this team, it made it worth watching. Now with him out, it's back to just the team doesn't score and they're playing bad baseball again. Other than Michael King last night, who was a relief pitcher. Well, originally he was supposed to be a starter. Then they made him a relief pitcher. Was one of our better relievers. Then they have had to put him in as an opener because they really don't have any starters at the moment. Guys are hurt, but they've kind of built him up as a starter. And he had 13 strikeouts last night. Gave up 1 run, and he did a really good job. So he could be a starter moving forward for the Yankees. But between that and Giancarlo Stanton not being able to run, it's just, I mean, the team is a mess right now, and they need to make some changes. I didn't watch the whole game. I turned it off. I mean, I had it on when it was 1-0, but it's just so boring to watch this team right now, and I don't really know what changes are going to be made to better the team, but it's just another lifeless performance. And you got Garrett Cole pitching tonight, so you're hoping that he pitches well. My dog is right outside, and she just made a noise, so that just scared me. But yeah, so you're kind of hoping Garrett Cole goes out there, pitches well, and he gets a Cy Young. But it's just, I mean, listen, I could talk about it for hours, but it's not good what's going on. But the Blue Jays got another win, so that helps them out with the wild card race. So we'll go into more detail with that. But yeah, so the headline really is just Aaron Boone getting ejected for the 7th time. I mean, he just loves to get ejected. But at this point, it's just getting played out. But you can understand the frustration with when it comes down to the Yankees and how they've played this year. But so other notable headlines. So one of them is regarding Corbin Carroll, if I could find it, because it was talking about how, yeah, so he makes more history. So he is the first rookie to have 25 home runs and 50 stolen bases, and that's huge. And he probably is going to win National League Rookie of the Year. And one of the main reasons why the Diamondbacks are going to can make the playoffs this year as one of the wild card teams is because of him. And again, with 50 stolen bases, and again, Acuna stealing all his bases, it just goes to show you. And I talked about this in the new rule segment that I did in one of the previous shows. Is stolen bases are back. Pitchers not having to throw over as much, and that's leading to more stolen bases. And yeah, it's again, it's giving baseball more action to their game, which is something that they've missed. But yeah, Corbin Carroll's having a really good year, and yeah, listen, the Diamondbacks, are playing well. After I really didn't, I said the other teams around them are, going to make it over them, that's who I liked at the time. But the Diamondbacks, they've been playing really good baseball. They won again last night, 7-1. So, they're playing great at the right time, and Corbin Carroll is a big factor into that. So, actually, injury news. So I was again watching MLB Network last night, and Jake Berger actually got hurt in the Marlins game. I think it was like hamstring, some hamstring tightness or something like that. Let me double check here, but that's a big loss for the Marlins, because he's been doing very well for them since they acquired him in a trade with the White Sox. And if he's out, that's a big loss. That's a big loss for the Marlins. And they're right now, at the last night they were a half game back. They did lose to the Mets. So right now they're currently, as we look at the wild card, so they're still a half game back. They're at 74 losses at the moment. But last night, so Jake Berger, it was quad tightness. That's what it was. He left with quad tightness. But yeah, it's not what you want, and especially at this point in the year, and how he's produced for the Marlins since he came over. You're hoping that it's not too serious, but it's definitely cause for concern there, because the Marlins, they did pretty well at the trade deadline, yet bringing guys in to better their lineup. So Um, we'll just have to wait and see on that. Luis Arise is still hurt, I believe. So I don't believe he played last night either. So yeah, Marlins are kind of banged up, and this is not when you want to deal with that because they're trying to make a run here. They're still a half game out. They could still make it, but losing two of your quality, your really good bats, because Arise is going to win the batting title. It's not what you want at this point in the year. So that's just the injury news on that front. Also, one of the headlines on MLB was the Blue Jays found a blueprint, and Gosman pitched really well for them last night. But the thing is, look, they probably did find a blueprint, but it was against the Yankees, who have not been good this year. Now, if they go out and do that in the playoffs, then that's one thing. But doing it against the Yankees, who are not a good team, I don't want to say that's a blueprint. But, listen, if they got good starters, Gosman's good. Bassett's won some games this year. I know Kikuchi left the game the other night with an injury. You have Barrios, who's been better. They got a good bullpen. They got guys in the bullpen. They got good starting pitching. So listen, they got to just put it all together. I know, and also Vlad hasn't played the last couple of games. He's dealing with a knee injury, but listen, and I'm not saying that they didn't find the blueprint, but it was last night. It was against the Yankees, who are right now a lifeless team, but again, that's just me being bitter towards my team. So, you just got to see how it goes in the playoffs, because the playoffs are completely different. But yeah, we'll just props to the Blue Jays. They're getting big wins when they need to, and somebody's gonna get left out. It's gonna come down to them and the AOS teams for those wild card spots. So, but they're doing a good job. They're winning the games they're supposed to win, and this is especially without Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So, and it's not going to get easier because they're going to be playing the Rays, who are going to be trying to catch the Orioles for the division. So, they got some tough games coming up, and we'll see how they respond. Tonight they're going up against Garrett Cole, which is not going to be easy, but then again, you also are going up against a lineup that really isn't that good, where Austin Wells was the cleanup hitter last night for the Yankees. So, yeah, we'll just have to see. But we'll go more into detail with all the scores and that in the third segment. So, but yeah, that's basically it with all the headlines. Not too many things at the moment. The Corbin Carroll stuff is fascinating. Again, like I talked about, stolen bases are back, and he's shown power. He's a good player for the Diamondbacks, and big part of why the Diamondbacks are in the position they're in. So, we'll see. And, and again, just bringing up the Yankees with the Boone stuff. So, yeah, not really, not any, major headlines unless I missed something. But, yeah, so, but it's kind of going to be like that sometimes where it's, there's not really... Some days there'll be more things to talk about than others. The playoffs, there's going to be a ton of things to unpack, but right now it's basically talking about the rest of the stuff in the next few segments. With the MVP race, the wild cards, the standings, all that. That's all in the other segments. This is just headlines and news and what's going on, other than the games themselves. So, but yeah, that's basically the first segment. And in the next segment, like I just said, we are going to talk about the National League MVP race. There's other candidates besides the main two that we will talk about as well, and one of them I've brought up too. So we will discuss that in a moment. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, that's what we will talk about. So stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the second segment of today's show, we are going to talk about the National League MVP race. So, like I said, I was watching MLB Network again last night, and they, they were talking about, the candidates involved in that, and talking about also the meaning of most valuable player, because um, between baseball and between football, there should be two different awards. One of them is like the best player from the year, and the most valuable player should be like, without that player, this team wouldn't be where they are. And I understand that argument, because that's been an argument that's gone on for the last, like several years, splitting it up into two different awards, because, last year, you look at last year, for example, with Aaron Judge and Ohtani. You take Ohtani off of the Angels, and they're still a non-playoff team. But you take away Aaron Judge from the Yankees and the 62 home runs he hit, where would the Yankees be? Excuse me. They wouldn't be where they are. They wouldn't be where they were. They wouldn't have won 99 games. And you see how the Yankees have been. Well, I shouldn't say that, but Yankees needed him this year, but then he comes back, and yeah, 9-game losing streak ended up happening. But because they were talking about Luis Ariz, and if he wasn't on the Marlins would not be where they are right now, and that's why he should be considered to be an MVP for this year. And listen, he's batting well over 300. He was batting 400 at one point. Yeah, I mean, he should get some consideration at least, but you look at some of the other guys, and they play for both the Braves and the Dodgers. The main guys, obviously, are Mookie Betts and Ronald Acuna. And then you also there's some consideration with Freddie Freeman, who's having a great year. And then, of course, you have Matt Olson, who has 52 home runs and leads the league in RBIs as well with like 130 plus. So it's going to be a close race. I think at this point you would probably have to lean towards Ronald Acuna as the favorite, but it's it's close. It's close. So we're going to take a deeper dive into the stats. So obviously Luis Ariz, in terms of batting average, he's ahead of everybody. He's at 354. Acuna's at 337. Freddie Freeman's at 333. Mookie Betts is at 310. Matt Olson's obviously the lowest on the list. Right now he's at 279. But, in terms of batting average, Ariz is going to win the batting title. But, and then you look at the other numbers. Obviously, Olson has 52 home runs. Acuna has 39. Betts has 39. Freddie Freeman has... How much does Freddie Freeman have? Freddie Freeman has 26. Ariz doesn't really have a ton of power numbers. How many home runs does he have? He has 10 home runs on the season. But, yeah, he's way below the home run list this year. And then... So then you look at RBIs, and Matt Olson has 131 right now. Betts has 103. Acuna has 100. Freddie Freeman has 94. So, yeah, and then Acuna's got 67 bases, which I did say was like the key stat. I think with that amount of stolen bases, because how much does Mookie have? Let's see. Freddie Freeman's got 20. Betts has only got 13. So, Yeah, I think, and he's got the most runs scored, on base percentage. Matt Olson leads in slugging. Acuna's got a higher OPS at the moment by like .003. That's the difference between those guys. So it's very close there. He leads the league. He leads the National League in hits. He's got 206. Betts has got 171. Yeah, it's. I think right now I think Acuna is going to be the guy that's going to do it. But it's very close. It's very close. You can make the case for a lot of these guys. I think really the top three, it's it's Betts, Acuna, and Olson. Not in that order, but those three is who you got to decide from. Because I honestly, if Matt Olson went on and hit 60 home runs, there's definitely a lot of consideration with that. He's having a great. I mean, he leads the league in home runs and RBIs. So he's going to get a lot of consideration based off of that. But Acuna, with the amount of stolen bases he has and 30-plus home runs, it's probably going to end up being him that's going to win. He's close to 40. So, and also he's ahead in batting average, ahead of Betts. So I think it's going to be him. Ultimately, I think it's going to be Acuna that wins the MVP. But for anybody watching this, let me know, is there, you can make the argument for some of the other guys. Because it's a strong argument to be had. Because Betts is having an incredible year. Olson's playing really well as well. Leading the National League in RBIs and home runs while leading both leagues. That's a strong case to be made, but I just think Acuna close to 40 home runs, leading the league in batting or leading the other candidates in batting average other than Arise, but Arise maybe Arise gets some votes, I don't know, but I think Acuna leading the other guys in RBIs, he's ahead in OPS by the slimmest of margins. It's probably going to be him, and because of the stolen bases, but it's going to be close. And again, you talk about most valuable player, and the meaning of that, and it's true though. It's valuable is like you take the player off the team, and is the team the same? No, I mean, if you take, because I think they were talking about it, if you take Matt Olson off the Braves, the Braves still where they are. I mean, they probably don't have as good of a record, but they're probably still going to win the division. And then you take Acuna off the Braves, and you have Matt Olson. It's the same thing, And look at what the Braves did a few years ago when they won the World Series a couple years ago. Acuna gets hurt. I think he tore his ACL, right? They went and they traded for Rosario, Duvall, Jock Peterson, right? And who else? Oh, and Jorge Soler. And they still ended up winning the World Series, even without Acuna. So, to give the Braves credit, they did a great job, and I touched upon this on a previous show as well. They went out and they traded for Matt Olson when they let Freddie Freeman go, and Matt Olson has been incredible for the Braves since they've got him. The Dodgers, you take Freeman and Betts off the team. I mean, yeah, it's going to hurt. It is. I feel like the Braves, they have more of a complete lineup than the Dodgers do. Because even if you take Matt Olson off the team, you still got Albies, you still got Austin Riley. You still got. I feel like with the Dodgers, there's like a drop off after Betts and Freeman. But the Dodgers still are a very good team. Again, having a good trade deadline. Signing JD Martinez was a good signing because he's been doing well for them this year. So, but yeah, it's definitely very close, and anything can happen. But I think the stolen bases thing, I keep going back to that. That's, I think, really one of the big stats that's going to lean in the favor of Acuna because he's almost got 70 stolen bases. I mean, it's with that combined with almost 40 home runs, your batting average is higher, OPS by a little bit, but you're still over 1,000 with an OPS. Runs scored, hits. A lot of those boxes are checked towards Acuna, so it most likely is going to be him. But I think the other guys, you got to respect what they're doing. I mean, Arise in batting average, Olsen home runs and RBIs. Freeman's having a solid season. Betts is literally right behind Acuna in some stats. So, yeah, there's a lot of arguments you can make, but I think ultimately Acuna is going to be the one that is going to win it. And it'll be interesting to see because, when the Braves went on that run a couple of years ago, he wasn't a part of it because he was hurt. And that's something they brought up last night when I was watching MLB Network is, yeah, he's, he wants to be a part of that this year if they go all the way. And as he should. Because he got robbed of that opportunity to play in the World Series. And the Braves still won. So, got to be happy with that, but he wasn't playing. And still, I mean, the Braves did a great job. They didn't give up on the season. They said we're still going for it. And they went out and they traded for 4 outfielders, and they ended up making a run and going to the World Series. I mean, props to them, really. I mean, they got past the Dodgers. So, and it's probably going to end up being Dodgers Braves again, I think. But we'll have to wait and see if any of these teams are going to get upset in the playoffs. It's possible. And so, I mean, that's always going to be in the back of my head. Like, you could say, hey, these teams are going to go, but you never know. So, but yeah, I mean, listen, they're the 2 best teams. They got 2 players on both sides that are up for MVP discussion. It should be those 2 teams that are fighting to get to the World Series. And they've, they played each other in 2021, in 2020. Dodgers got the best of them in 2020, even though the Braves had a 3-1 lead and they blew it. And then the Braves beat the Dodgers the following year. And I don't remember, was that in 5 games? I'm trying to it escapes my mind at the moment. Let's have a look. And I typed in the thing wrong, so that doesn't help. Let's see. It was in 6 games. Okay. Right? 6 games. Yeah. Yep. It was in 6 games. I don't know why I thought it was in 5, but yeah. I don't know. Give the Braves credit there because they didn't have Acuna. Dodgers were favored in that series, and they took care of business, and they ended up winning the championship. And they might be on a collision course, for the rubber match. Braves got the best of them the Dodgers got the best of the Braves in 2020. Braves got the best of them in 2021. They both won the World Series. Dodgers won in 2020. Braves won in 21. So, what's going to happen this year if these 2 teams meet again? We'll have to wait and see. So, but yeah, that's basically the talk with the National League MVP race. It's pretty close, but I think most people would agree that Ronald Acuna is going to be the favorite. So with that, we are going to take our second break of the show. I just wanted to fix that. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the American League playoff picture. We'll go over the scores revolving that from last night, and that will be the third part of the show. So stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the third segment of today's show, we are going to go through the American League playoff picture, talk about the scores from last night, involving those games, and we'll look at the updated standings. Because again, between that and the National League playoff picture, it's always changing. Now, divisions are wrapped up. Well, in the National League, they're wrapped up. Right now, nothing is set in the American League. But, like I said, it's always changing. Again, but before we get into that, once again, to tip or donate to the show, just to remind you guys, go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork/tip. We really appreciate that. And then once again, for bonus coverage materials that are not on this show, make sure to go check out patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network. We greatly appreciate that. And once again, showing up the graphic for that. So make sure to go check that out. I'll be recording that after the live stream. And we appreciate that. So again, just wanted to get that out of the way. I'm trying to keep myself hydrated during the show. I got my water bottle here because I find myself getting dry as I'm talking. So I'm trying to keep myself hydrated so that doesn't happen. But so let's now get into the third topic of today's show, which is discussing the AL playoff picture. So we'll go over the scores revolving that, and then we'll look at the current standings at the moment. So last night I did talk about this. The Blue Jays, they defeated the Yankees 6-1. Gosman pitched very well. He's now 12-9 on the season with a 3.29 ERA. And let's see, how many strikeouts did he end up with last night? So he had 10. And if you're pitching against the Yankees, you're most likely going to get double-digit strikeouts because that's a lot of times that's all this team does is just strike out. So, we'll look at the game summary. So Bo Bichette started off the third inning with an RBI single. Spencer Horwitz, he was walked in. Whit Merrifield was walked in. So back-to-back, I didn't even see that, honestly. Because again, I really just don't want to watch the Yankees at the moment. I can't do it with how they've been playing this year. It's just very frustrating. So that made it 3-0. Then Bo Bichette, another RBI single. That led to it being 4-0. And then Spencer Horwitz, he singled, scoring a pair of runs. That made it 6-0. And then Austin Wells hit his first career home run. And that made it 6-1 in the bottom of the ninth. And that was the final score. So the Blue Jays, again, they pick up a big win there, 85-67 on the season now. And that's big considering that Vlad Guerrero has missed a couple games with a knee injury. So Blue Jays, they did what they were supposed to do, and they try to go for the sweep tonight. It's going to be tough. You got to deal with Garrett Cole, but they got Barrios on the mound, who's been good for them this year. So we'll see how that goes. So then the Twins, they picked up a win against the Reds, 5-3. So they get closer and closer to clinching that division crown. Right now, their magic number to clinch the Central is 1. So they are going to get that done by this weekend. So when that happens, we will, we'll probably mention it tomorrow when we go over these again. But yeah, so that happened last night. So actually, we'll look at the game summary there. So the Reds actually were leading the game 2-0, and then Willie Castro hit a home run, made it 2-1. Luke Maley had a single, which made it 3-1 Reds. Then Julian, he hit a RBI single, make it 3-2. Kyle Farmer, RBI single to tie the game, and then Jorge Polanco had a 2-run single after that. So that was in the ninth inning. So the Reds blew that game, which is not good, because the Reds are trying to, we'll touch upon it in the next segment. They're trying to, fight for the wild card spot there. So That was a big loss for the Reds, but good win for the Twins, and they will clinch the Central by either tonight or tomorrow, and we will talk about it. So so they win 5-3. Rangers picking up a win in a big way, 15-5 over the Red Sox to improve to 84-68 on the season, and that's a big win for them. Martin Perez picked up the win, 10-4 on the season, so he improves to that. And let's go through the summary. So actually, Red Sox were up 4-0 after the first 2 innings. Adam Duvall, he hit and we just talked about him, because part of the Braves World Series team. He hit a 3-run home run in the top of the first to make it 3-0 Boston. So it was 3-0 after the first. Bobby Dahlbeck hit a home run in the top of the second to make it 4-0. Then Jonah Heim, he hit a 3-run home run of his own to make it 4-3. Mitch Garver had a home run to make it 4-4. Simeon, 2-run single, 6-4. Then Tavares, a single in the bottom of the third to make it 7-4. Simeon was walked with the bases loaded to make it 8-4. Adolis Garcia had an RBI double. Tavares' sac fly. Corey Seager with an RBI double. Josh Young, a 2-run home run to make it 13-4. And then Evan Carter hit a 2-run home run as well to make it 15-4. And then Rafaela, he had a single to make it 15-5. And that was the final score there. But big win for the Rangers. They improved to 84-68. Astros were able to pick up a win against the Orioles, so they salvaged the final game of the series. And the Orioles actually were up 1-0 the whole game, and then the Astros scored 2 runs one in the 8th, and then one in the 9th. Dubon was the hero with the walk-off single in the bottom of the 9th. Astros, that's a big win for them because the Orioles are really bringing it. And so now they improved to 85-68. Orioles dropped to 95-57. However, the Rays lost last night. So that was a big game for the Rays. They lost 8-3 to the Ohtani-less and Mike Trout-less Angels. 8-3. Savali did not pitch well for them. So now the Rays dropped to 93-60. So that really stinks for them because they could have really made up some ground there. Mariners won 6-3 over the A's, so they improved to 84-68 as well. But yeah, that's pretty much the when it comes to the American League with the scores. So right now in the standings, the Rays are still 2.5 games back. Orioles' magic number to clinch the division is 8. So, but it's big that the Rays lost because that could have been huge if the Rays were able to make up ground. And you figured they probably would have beat the Angels last night, but that was not the case. And then you look at the Central. Like I said, the Twins' magic number is 1, so they'll get that either tonight or tomorrow. And every team in the American League West won last night. Well, except for the A's, but they don't count because they've been out of it. Unfortunately for their fans who have had to suffer through this year, they are out of it at the moment. So, they're out of it. I shouldn't say at the moment, but yeah, not a to put it nicely, it hasn't been that good of a year for the A's. But yeah, so the Astros half game up on both the Rangers and the Mariners. We'll see. It's going to be close to the end. But that was a big win for the Astros, especially because, they can't afford losses with the teams right behind them winning. Mariners have won 3 in a row, playing the A's. Texas has won 2. So, but now we look at the wild card standings. So right now the Rays, of course, are at the top. Then you got the Blue Jays, who are a game up on Seattle and on Texas. So they're tied right now, the Mariners and the Rangers, for the third wild card spot. And, we're still waiting on 2 more teams to just be officially eliminated. The Red Sox, 1 more game and they're eliminated. And then the Yankees are 3 more. So the Yankees at least will be mathematically alive for 1 more day. But by Friday they could be officially eliminated, which I would be happy because I just want this year to be over already. Just get us to the playoffs, please. I can't do this anymore. But yeah, it's very close, and the Rangers and the Mariners are going to be playing each other, and the Mariners and the Astros will play each other one more time. So it's going to determine a lot. And then you got the Blue Jays, who got the Rays after the Yankees, and then they got the Yankees again, and then they got the Rays again. So they got an easy stretch of games, an easy series of games, a hard series of games, then an easy series of games, and then a hard series of games. Because that's the level of competition disparity between the Yankees and the Rays. So they get a break when they play the Yankees, but when they play the Rays, it's going to be tough. So, and listen, it's the Yankees. I could be hard on them all I want, but you never know. You never know. I mean, the Yankees, they could surprise us and play spoiler, but at this point, I'm just so done with this year that just get us to the end of the season and make some changes, please. That's all I'm asking. So, but yeah, that's basically it when it comes to the American League playoff picture. The Twins, like I said, they'll have their division wrapped up. The AL West, it's who knows. AL East, who knows. The number 2 and number 3 wild card spots, who knows. Those are still left to be decided. The only one that isn't is the Central. The Central is pretty much going to be wrapped up. That's right now where the Twins are. That's where they're going to be. When they clinch, that's where they're going to be. They're going to be that third team, the third seed when it comes to the divisions. And they're going to play one of the wild card teams. And who knows? They could be eliminated. I could see it. Just because of the recent history with how the Twins have been in the playoffs, it doesn't go well. But I don't know. Excuse me again. And you don't want to make guarantees because, when you're wrong, you look dumb. And believe me, I said Texas was going to be on the outside looking in. Now look at them. The Diamondbacks, look at how they've been playing. The Cubs, they've been playing worse. That's why it's scary to make predictions because, you never know. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the playoff picture. So then in the following segment, in the final segment of the show, we are going to talk about the National League playoff picture. So we'll move on to that when we get back from break. And yeah, I mean that's one that gets even crazier just because there's more teams involved with it, and that's always changing as well. I think now with the American League, some of the teams that have still mathematically have been in it for the last couple weeks, they're gonna be eliminated. So it's really gonna come down to the AL West and the Blue Jays with those spots, because Rays and the Orioles, nobody's catching them for the top spot in the wild card race, and whoever wins the East is going to have the best record and have home field. So, but like I always say, we'll wait. We just got to wait and see. So with that, we are going to take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, we'll go over the scores from last night with the National League and the current standings at the moment. So stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the final segment of today's show, we are going to talk about the National League playoff picture. So, I did talk about an injury that occurred last night in one of the games. Jake Berger, the Marlins, left with quad tightness. So, that's huge. Luis Arraez still being out. That does put a dent in the Marlins' chances when it comes to making the playoffs. Right now, they sit a half game out, but that's two of your best hitters not in your lineup. That's definitely gonna have an impact on you going forward, especially now with the last full week of the season coming up and dogs barking again. They're an underdog right now. Every time that happens, if depending on who I'm talking about, I'm just gonna say right now they're an underdog. So, yeah. So again, probably the mailman or something. I don't know, or it could be nothing. Sometimes she barks. I don't think I mentioned this. Sometimes she barks. Might have been on the Patreon. She barks, and it's just like, what are you barking at? But if you knew my dog, she's a nut job. So, but yeah. So the Marlins are underdogs, as my dog Bella barks. But yeah, they had a bad loss last night, losing 8-3 to the Mets. Kodai Senga picked up the win in that, improving to 12-7 on the season with a 2.96 ERA. He's had a very good season. Not going to win the Cy Young, but he has had a very good season for the Mets, and at least they have that going into next season. And Mark Vientos and now she's coming up the stairs. Mark Vientos actually had a good game, 2 home runs yesterday for the Mets. Josh Bell hit a home run, but Brett Beatty hit a home run too, and he's a guy that's been struggling for the Mets. But and Nimmo hit a home run as well, 24th on the season. But yeah, not a good showing for the Marlins yesterday, especially because the Mets, they've been out of it for a while, and they couldn't afford that loss. But yeah, they sit a half game out, and so hopefully Jake Berger is able to come back. Hopefully Arraez is back in the lineup because they need him. They need him. So Phillies beat the Braves 6-5. I mean, the Phillies are kind of set in where they are at the moment, but again, things could change. But I don't anticipate that. Diamondbacks won 7-1 over the Giants, so that's a bad loss for the Giants. Logan Webb dropped to 10-13 on the season. Kelly improved to 12-7. And the scoring summary there. So Lamonte Wade Jr. he started off so the Giants, they've started off these last 2 games like really well against the Diamondbacks, and then everything just like falls apart. Lamonte Wade Jr. hit a home run. It was 1-0 after the top of the first. Christian Walker had an RBI single to tie it. Tommy Pham RBI ground out or force out to make it 2-1. Alec Thomas RBI double to make it 3-1 Diamondbacks. Corbin Carroll, like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, hit his 25th home run of the season to make it 4-1. Then Kentel Marte homered to make it 5-1. Moreno RBI single. Emmanuel Rivera an RBI single to make it 7-1, and that ended up being the final score. So the Diamondbacks, big win for them, and they improved to 81-72 on the season. So they're in a good spot right now. A bad loss last night for the Cubs. They dropped to 13, or they lose to the Pirates. Sorry, they lose to. He was getting tongue tied there. 13-7. They lost to the Pirates, and this was with Justin Steele on the mound. And this is a big start for Steele for the Cubs and for himself with the Cy Young. And he only pitched 3 innings, 8 hits, 6 earned runs, and his ERA jumped to 3 on the dot. So, yeah, he kind of fell out of the Cy Young, and that is a huge loss for the Cubs. They dropped to 79-73. They currently hold the final wild card spot in the National League by half a game over the Marlins, but it's not good to do that. And especially you have your best pitcher on the mound and he goes out there and does that, especially at this point in the season, it's not good. But yeah, actually the Cubs were winning after the second inning. They were up 1-0. Suzuki had an RBI single. And then the Pirates put up a 7 spot in the 4th inning. Cubs actually did make it interesting in the bottom of the 5th. So they were down 8-1. Christopher Morel hit a home run, his 24th on the season. Ian Happ ended up hitting a grand slam. So it was 8-6, but then the Pirates tacked on more runs to make it 11-6. And final score ended up being 13-7. So again, especially against a team that is having a bad year, Cubs couldn't afford that loss, and that's a big loss. Now they're still currently in a playoff spot, but that's not what you want. Padres actually picked up another win, so they're still hovering around. So right now, let's look at the. Let me see. So yeah, I did touch upon the Twins and the Reds. Reds are 79 and 75. After that loss, but yeah, I think that's it. Did I miss anything? I mean, the Brewers won 8-2. Josh Donaldson hit another home run, so I guess he's back. I mean, it was only his only hit of the game. I mean, he's still batting 159 and 690 is his OPS, but I mean, his numbers in 9 games: 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, 219 batting average, 324 on base, 469 slugging, 793 OPS. But again, it's only in 9 games. But I expected him to play better with the Brewers, because that's just what happens. Oh, and that was the third player I was, because I was like, so Gallo's going to make the playoffs, Hicks is going to make the playoffs, and I'm like, there's one more player that I'm missing, and Donaldson is that third player. So, but yeah, let's look at the current standings in the National League. Obviously, Braves and Dodgers, we don't really need to focus on that. Brewers are 7 games up on the Cubs, and their magic number is 4. So they will clinch this division and have it wrapped up by the end of the year, barring a collapse, but I don't see that happening. The Cubs 3-7 in their last 10 games. Brewers have been playing well, 7-3 in their last 10, so the division's going to be clinched. But yeah, it just kind of stinks, because I was looking forward to that last series against the Cubs if the division was going to come down to that, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So it's actually interesting. So right now, you got the Phillies at the top. You got the Diamondbacks, 81 and 72. You got the Cubs, 79 and 73. Phillies are 83 and 69. So those are the 3 teams. Then you have the Marlins, who are a half game out. The Reds are 1. The Giants are 3. And the Padres are 75 and 78. They're now 4.5 games back of that wild card spot. 8-2 in their last 10 games, and they have won 7 in a row. So don't look down. The San Diego Padres, they still have a chance. They still have a chance. Now, they got to keep winning. They got to win every single game if they're going to have any shot. But listen, Cubs haven't been playing well. Marlins dealing with injuries. The Reds, the Giants struggling a little bit. Well, the Reds at least have lost their last 2. Giants have lost their last 2, but the Giants, you'd probably say 4-6 in their last 10 games. That they're struggling more so. Padres, I don't know. Maybe they got a run in them. Maybe they can make it, because 4.5 games back, and we still got, a week and a half, a little around that to play. I don't know. With these other teams losing, maybe you find yourself, like, just imagine that. Me saying, oh, they've been a disappointment this year, and many people have said that, and they're not going to go anywhere, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just somehow make it. Because 4.5 games back, I mean, it's not insurmountable. It's still going to be tough. You still have to win games, but you're still mathematically in it. there's 6 more games until they're eliminated. So, wins from other teams and if they lose. So let's actually look at the Padres' remaining schedule. So they play the Cardinals, they play the Giants, and then they play the White Sox. Okay. That is a soft way to end the year. Now, the Giants are going to be fighting for the wild card as well still. But you could jump the Giants. You're playing the Cardinals, and then you play the Giants. You could jump the Giants, and then you go from there. Giants are playing the Dodgers. Giants are playing the Dodgers, then the Padres, and then the Giants. Oh my God, the Giants are playing the Dodgers, the Padres, and then the Dodgers again. So it's possible. And then the Reds are playing Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cardinals. So that's doable for them. Marlins, they got the Mets, Milwaukee, and they got Milwaukee, then the Mets, and then Pittsburgh. So Milwaukee's going to be tough. Cubs got the Brewers to finish off the year, and they also have the Braves. Well, they do have the Rockies, then they have the Braves, and then they have the Brewers. So, it's possible. It's possible, but the Padres have to win games, though. Padres can't afford losses. If they can win, if they continue on this winning streak, and they get it down to 2 games, 2 games, it's possible. It is possible. That would be insane. They come from nowhere, out of nowhere. They're dead in the water, and they just rise up, and they make the playoffs at, with 84 wins. That would be incredible. That would just wipe out any. I shouldn't say wipe out any of the complaints that they had, all the complaints, but that's something to keep an eye on, because it kind of was going, for me, it was going unnoticed, because I'm just focusing on the other teams, because the Padres were, they were 8 out, 7 out, 6, and then 5, and now they're 4.5. Listen, it's doable. It's doable. But they still need a lot of help. They need teams to lose. They got to keep winning games. But like I said, they got a soft finish to the end of the year. It is possible. It definitely can happen. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's going to be something to watch out for. Keep an eye on the Padres, because listen, I give them a shot. I give them a shot. Now, it's not a great shot, but I give them a chance. I give them a chance based on what's left on their schedule and who some of the other teams are facing. Because if you go and you beat up on the Giants, you pass them, right? Cubs have been struggling, and they hold the 3rd spot. Marlins are dealing with injuries. It's possible. So, yeah, we're going to end off the show there. So, a great show as always. I thank you guys for watching. I'm going to go and record the Patreon for the half hour. So, make sure, to sign up on the Patreon so you get access to the exclusive content there. And that is all the time that we have for today. So, once again, I thank you for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday already. Weeks just fly by. 11 a.m. Eastern time, so make sure to tune in. And I'll be working on getting the other shows up. The yesterday's show is in the process of being uploaded, the broken down segment parts of it, so you can check out and watch the individual segments if you missed anything from yesterday. And yeah, that's basically it. So until then, I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder signing off. Have a good day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the games tonight, and I'll see you then. Take care.